everyone to another episode of Figuring Out Epilepsy, where we talk about all things epilepsy plus more. Today's special guest is Amee, a fellow warrior and a dentist. Thank you, Amee, so much for being here with us today. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. So I usually like to start at the beginning of everyone's epilepsy journey. So when were you diagnosed with epilepsy?
I was about 8 or 9, so fairly young, had my first seizure in the middle of the night. Of course, no one knew what was going on. Called 911, the whole shebang, went through, you found a neurologist because we lived in a small town. So we drove an hour and a half for appointments. We did all the testing, all of that stuff. Of course, it all came back negative, idiopathic, didn't find anything they could correlate it to. And just like probably most people's story is, just medications.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that sounds very familiar. I've heard that's my own story, a little bit older, but yeah, that's definitely how it goes with epilepsy. Um, did they ever figure out why you have epilepsy?
no,
No.
we still don't know. All the testing that we've done through the years is still, everything looks good. Negative, negative, negative. We keep an eye on the normal blood tests and liver enzymes and all that kind of stuff just to maintain. We did some tweaks during when we were family planning, and we had to switch some medication. So that was kind of the first tough transition that I'd ever had to go through, from 8 to, I would say that was about 28. And so things have been going really well until then. I was like, okay, if we want to have a family, we have to switch medications because the side effects of the
Yeah.
medication I was on, like birth defects and, the whole laundry list. And that was one of them that was significant. And so the neurologist I was originally seeing just wasn't able to provide me with women's health. I think there's a whole different specialty in that as far as women's
Yeah.
health and epilepsy. And just the first time I had actually spoken to someone about it, who is a physician, she directed me to my current specialist who specializes in women's health. So she was able to transition me onto another medication. And then we were family planning, everything was fine. And yeah, got 2 kids now, healthy, growing, 14 and 12. And we had our other bout of kind of, okay, this is in my face again. Probably, I would say in December. But otherwise, I feel like I'm very fortunate that, one little bump in the road, and like life has gone on until it just hasn't.
And during that process of switching medications because of family planning and all that, was it difficult to find the proper medication that's going to work for you, or how was the process like?
Yes. So during that time, I was transitioning jobs. So I did quit working. I didn't drive for 4 months while we were trying to get everything under control because the side effects, the blurry vision, dizziness, ataxia, kind of faced all of that. It not working. So having more breakthroughs come through. So we were playing around with dosing, and we finally got that figured out. And once that was controlled, it was kind of we were like, okay, I think we can do this.
That's amazing. Were you ever scared of becoming pregnant? Because I know there's some people out there with epilepsy who are afraid of becoming pregnant and the potential risk for their child when you're
Yeah,
living with epilepsy.
I think that's a very personal decision, right? There's a lot of pros and cons in general with having children. Um, just that process was so hard for us. It did make me stop and question whether having a family was what I wanted to do or not, because it was difficult. And it was like, well, I'm choosing to put myself through this for something that I've always wanted. But at what point do you say, okay, maybe this isn't what I want because this is really hard?
Yeah.
And so I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. For my experience, it ended up coming together and working out. And that's we decided to have our family. The kids are fine so far. No, no problems there. But I think it's about educating yourself, and I think it's a very personal. You kind of weigh what's important and what you're going through. It's going to be different for everybody.
Absolutely, yeah. Um, when I was pregnant, 'cause I have a 14-year-old. When I was pregnant, they told me my daughter was going to be born with Down syndrome because of my epilepsy, and my daughter is fine. Like
Right.
the worst thing she has is eczema, so she's completely fine. And I tell people it is a very personal process, and you really need to I always suggest talking to other people who has epilepsy and who's been pregnant, and just get as much information as you can. Just weigh the pros and cons and see what best fits for your family, because what fits for mine may not fit for yours, and vice versa. So I mean, you know like you said, just become more knowledgeable about how that's going to look like. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the communicating and educating, and then it's very personal from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you were able to have two beautiful children, and they are absolutely healthy. I love that. Uh, I know that you were in college and you were studying dentistry. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I did 4 years of undergrad, went to graduate school again on the same one medication that had been, controlled meaning I'd have a couple of breakthroughs here and there, but it didn't stop me from doing anything. It didn't even, most people closest to me didn't even know, it was, I was trying, I mean, I was doing everything. I made it through pretty well. There was, I think, one point where I took a couple weeks off, went and got some extra testing, got me back on track, and it was fine. And the only, I think, challenge during that part, and now I don't even see it as a challenge, 'cause I still didn't have to tell anyone. There was one time when I had to tell, professors or the school and be like, look, I'm going to be gone for a week and a half, and this is why. And even then, nobody else had to know. And I don't know why that was a big deal that nobody knew. I felt like I wore that as a badge of honor. And now looking back, I'm like, why? Why did I do that? Why wasn't I just open about it? And this isn't something that anyone has chosen, right? Like no one wakes up and
Mhm.
chooses this. So why did I feel like I didn't want anyone to know? I still question that in myself. I was never told not to tell anyone. It was just something that I never had to and just kind of kept to myself.
Maybe you're a more private person, or it's like sometimes for me, I hid my epilepsy for 20 years. I was living a double life. I didn't tell anyone. My family knew and a few close friends, but for me it's just I didn't want to be treated like I was less than, or treated like I couldn't be myself, or I was, or being placed in a bubble. So, I mean, maybe subconsciously you were feeling something towards that. Um yeah, it wasn't until I until I had a conversation with my older brother that like I started accepting my epilepsy.
Oh, I'm, 43 and I'm still working and accepting it. And so it's a process and I'm not exactly sure why. I think it's a common, kind of seems like a common theme for people with epilepsy that you just, I don't have the answer to why.
Yeah. Um for you, I don't know, because for me, I couldn't start loving myself until I accepted my epilepsy. So is it like, not to get too personal, but is it hard for you? Like, do you have any emotional, like, when it comes to epilepsy?
I didn't until this round. Like everything was fine. I was okay with taking my medication. I focused on myself. I felt like I was able to do and prioritize everything that I wanted to and needed to. So I never felt like it was in my face all the time. It was just kind of like, okay, I have this, my medication controls it, I deal with it, but look at all these other great things. There was nothing really that I felt like I had to accept because I was getting things that I needed to get done, and I
Mhm.
was living the life that I wanted to live.
Mhm.
But come 6 months ago, it all just kind of changed. And again, nobody knows why. I think this is kind of the ups and downs of the condition. And
Yes.
now is where I'm getting to, okay, I have to accept this. And I'm still a work in progress, actually, in that.
As we all are. As we all are. Even when you accept your epilepsy, you still have those moments where you're feeling down about it. You like go through the process all over again of healing again. So even with me having acceptance, I'm still going through that process of just healing and feeling better about myself in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For someone who's always had control over things, right now it's like, okay, I have to let things go. Like I have to, I just give yourself some grace. And I think I'm just getting to that point in my life where I'm just allowing myself to try to do a little bit more of that.
That is me. That is me. I always have to control everything just because I epilepsy makes your life so out of control. I feel like controlling what I can makes me feel better. But I have to learn to like just let things go and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah. Yeah. And rely on your support system. Like I
Oh,
think even
absolutely.
most liberating about being able to say something is I had to say something because I needed my support system. I was that I can do it all, for this many, that toxic, okay, I can do this. And then it's kind of thrown in your face and be like, but you don't need to. And guess what? You can't.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, we may can do it all. We may be able to, and but we don't need to. We can rely on people, and it's okay. I'm telling you, personal experience too. I am the same way. I have a hard time reaching out and asking for people for help, but we don't have to do it all. We have a support system for a reason, and we should rely on them. They are such great help. And
Right.
I'm so glad that you have that in your life and you have people around you that is helping,
Yeah,
it
they were kind of upset that they didn't know this for this many years. I have close friends that I've known since I was 17 and 18, and they're like, what? Like, what is going on? Like, why are you just telling us about this? And they've been my greatest supporters, and it's been really liberating.
yes, yes. Since I started posting on social media about my epilepsy, like some friends from back in high school has started following me and they were like, we didn't know you had this and I didn't know you were going through all this and like they're seeing me in a different light now because I'm actually talking about my epilepsy and it's people I've known since I was like 14 that I used to see all the time, hang out with all the time and they're like, "Sam, I never knew this. I thought you were good."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I walk out of the house and I go do, and just like yourself, you go do what you do, everyone thinks that. Like, I thought you were good, right?
Mhm.
And that's kind of the hidden invisible illness, chronic illness. It's the whole taboo. I think it's okay to not be okay, is what I'm
Yes.
saying.
Yes, yeah. Um I had a question. See, my epilepsy brain.
Um, trust me, I'm right there with
um, when it comes to epilepsy and right now, what do you wish people knew?
I want people to know, one, educate yourself, which I feel like I did from the very beginning, although this, unfortunately for myself, is a condition that's just looking for the right treatment. I'm not looking for a cure. I'm just looking for the right treatment. And accepting, I think accepting that it's a phase and there's going to be ups and downs. You're going to have a good day and then tomorrow you may not. And it's just being a little bit more adaptable. I think I've learned to be a little bit more adaptable, a little more forgiving, a little more accepting, and kind of advocating for myself and saying no, like, no, I can't do that. And celebrate my small victories. I think until you're faced in a situation where you could do, so you hit that fork where you could do one, which I think you have to go through the process of grieving and accepting. And I kind of felt sorry for myself and like, why can't I do what I used to do? And once you move past that, I'm trying now to get to the point where I kind of focus on what I can do. Like, you know what? I can still work out. I can control my body in ways that I could before. Yes, this still happens. And yes, I can't control the side effects of the medications, but let's focus on what I still can do. I still go to work. I still, work out, which is huge for my mental health personally. So you've got to find things that fill your cup, whatever that may look like. Focus on your cans instead of your can'ts.
Yes, that's a big thing on my page, is just focus on all the wonderful things that you still can do and all the blessings that you have in your life. Like, let's not focus on the negatives. And I trust me, I get it. I've been there, done that, focused on the negatives. I understand that, living with a chronic illness is not always easy,
Yeah.
focusing on positive things in life. But, I'm here telling everyone that it makes life a lot easier, and you're able to you do more and feel better about yourself when you focus on the positives and not so much the negatives of a chronic illness.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I do want to say, like, it's hard sometimes, and it's okay to sit in that hard, right? Like,
Hmm.
I went through the whole toxic positivity kind of, oh, everything's always fine. Everything's always fine. And now I'm learning to be like, you know what? I can't do this today. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to allow myself to do nothing or to feel like, gosh, I wish this were different. And then when you're ready, go back to the let's focus on the positive. Like, let's not stay in this moment, but let's go back. And it's okay to kind of go back and forth between the two. I think that's part of it.
Yes. Yes. I like, trust me, I'm definitely there. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
I think that's a part of life. Just life in
Yeah.
general, even with or without a chronic illness. You're gonna have your ups and downs. You're gonna have moments of where you're not completely 100% okay, but that's okay. That's
It's life.
life. That's life with epilepsy.
It's life with anything. I mean,
Yes.
in general, in general. And I
Yeah.
think it's just something that's been thrown at me that's just made me aware. Now it could be different for everybody, but we're at the age and I'm at the phase where I'm finally ready to talk about it. I always worried about what other people would think, being a professional and having children and, being in networks of other parents and, all these communities that we have. And I'm finally like, but this is about me. It's not about anyone else. And so if
Mhm.
there's people out there that I can help kind of see that, that's kind of the mission. The mission is not anything else besides like, you didn't create this and you don't need to hide it. And if you do talk about it, there is an entire support system out there and you
Yes.
don't have anything to lose. All I've gained is empowerment through talking about it.
I love that. I love that. That was I did have a question about when it comes to epilepsy and being a professional like yourself. Is it does it make things harder in any way?
No, in my personal situation.
Mhm.
Until December, I would say absolutely not. Didn't affect anything I did. Now we kind of have it set up to where I am always working with another professional in the office because there's days where I just don't feel good and I can leave and it's fine. I don't have to explain myself to anyone. I work for myself. Um, so in that sense, no, it hasn't affected my ability to do my work, but
Mhm.
I've set it up so I give myself that flexibility
That's
to be
wonderful.
able to work around the way I feel because I do prioritize myself now.
Exactly. Prioritize yourself. Yes.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful that you were able to make accommodations for yourself and, have someone there for you just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case. Yeah.
I haven't missed a day of work because of this. It's not something that's been the forefront, but yeah, there's side effects to these medications that people don't tell you about. And sometimes it's exhausting asking about other people how they're doing as a healthcare professional. when you're battling your own. I think that's one thing. It's just made me more compassionate and empathetic, and I just like to listen to other people's stories more.
Oh yeah. Yes. I love listening to people's stories. It's such a good way to be able to feel like you're not alone.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And it's kind of like what you see is not always what you think.
As far
Yes.
as
Yes.
epilepsy advocacy, what are you looking forward to the most in the future?
I think one is it shouldn't be a stigma, and
Mhm.
it's okay to talk about things, one, things you do have control over, but it's also okay to talk about things that you didn't sign up for, whether it's mental health, chronic illness, depression, anxiety, the list goes on and on. And coming from the culture, it's very stigmatized, like, oh, you shouldn't talk about that. What's going to happen if
Yes.
people know? And it's kind of breaking that, I think, is kind of my mission is, I've come this far, but that doesn't mean it's been easy, and it's
Mhm.
okay saying that, and it's okay to put limits on yourself because your mental health and your health come first. So take those pressures of other people's expectations off of that, and take those expectations off of yourself, honestly,
Yes.
and listen to your body. And there's something that you just feel like you want to do and you can't. It's going through that acceptance phase, and I think it takes time, but I think it's crucial to part of the journey.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Um And if you guys are wanting to follow Amy, I'll have all her links down below in the description box. So make sure you check out the description box. Is there anything else you would like to let the audience know?
No, I just don't want people to do what I did. It was,
That's what I say all the time. Don't follow what I did. Don't
you know,
deny for 20 years.
just don't do what I did. Like,
Yeah.
it's real, right? And you didn't sign up for this. Chronic illness, depression, anxiety, none of this. Like, you are not making these choices. But there is a support system, and the sooner you talk about it and the sooner you put it out there, the sooner you can receive the support. Because I think people are good. I genuinely believe people are out there to help and support each other. And just by me talking about my story, if it helps one person go out and say, this is what I have, and they find their right support system, whether it's the right doctors, the right place to be, hospitals, the right testing, the right groups of friends, that's really it. That's the mission. Don't do what I did.
Yes.
And I feel better now that I've let that kind of go. Don't let
Um,
people's opinions kind of define what your life is going to look like.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
You do you. Just
Yes, and you do.
live your life.
Yeah, and don't apologize for it. Don't apologize for things. You know your limits, and honor those limits. Honor yourself, and you don't really owe anyone an explanation of
And it
things.
is okay. It is okay to be selfish. It is
Yes.
okay. You can think about yourself.
Yes, prioritize yourself, think about yourself. I'm 43, and it's taken me now, and I'd hate to pass my toxicity for this many years onto my own kids. Because if I want them to be different and be able to come forward with whatever challenges they may be facing, whether it's mental health or chronic illness or anything else, the last thing I would want them to do is, for me to find out when I'm 80 that they've been holding something in for 40 years. Like,
Yeah,
okay to talk about this, and let's get you to the right systems in place that are there for a reason.
exactly. And there's so much, there's so many foundations. There's the Epilepsy Foundation, there's the Cameron Boyce Foundation, the Henley Foundation, the Epitome of Epilepsy Foundation. There's so many foundations out there, so many support groups that you can reach out to. You can message me, like, I'm sorry if I don't get to your DM right away, but you can always talk to me. Um, and we're here. We're here for everyone. Oh, okay. I was like,
You'll, yeah.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say you're going to have your ups and your downs and ebbs and flows, but you know, you choose to focus on what you want to focus on, and that's a choice.
Exactly. That's beautiful. That's a wonderful way to end this episode. Um, Thank you so much, Amee, for being here with us and
Yeah.
talking to us about your journey. And you are super inspirational and motivational. Like, I absolutely love it. And don't let epilepsy define you. I love
Right.
it.
There's so many other things about me that I could tell you about, you know, like don't let it define you. Don't let anybody else define you by it.
Hmm.
Speak up for yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's what I try. That's what I try to tell everyone all the time. Just,
Yeah.
you know, you define you. Epilepsy doesn't define you.
Right.
But
Exactly.
thank you so much for being here with us. I really appreciate it. And make sure you guys check out the description box so you can follow Amee on IG. And we'll see you on the next episode of Figuring Out Epilepsy. Bye,
Perfect. Here.
guys.
If you need anything, thanks.